keep up the perseverance. If you feel your coach is asking you for things that are unrealistic, speak up. Tell somebody. But have fun with it. That's the best I can say. Enjoy it.
Lijep pozdrav, dobrodošli u još jednu epizodu Sportologije. U ovoj epizodi zaista mi je zadovoljstvo da imam priliku razgovarati sa čovjekom koji je vjerojatno najpoznatiji gimnastički novinar na svijetu i suvlasnik Twistars akademije, Gimnastičke Akademije iz Australije. Njegovo ime je Futrelle, and now I'll switch to English because I'm really glad to tell you that I have a opportunity to talk to one of the most famous, the most popular gymnastics journalists in the world, co-owner of the Twistars Gymnastics Academy, Futrelle. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. And you're one of the few people who pronounce my name correctly. So
I'm glad. I've been putting in a lot of work with my English, yeah. So I'm glad it's paying off. Okay, I'm now looking forward to this conversation because it's actually the first episode I'm recording right here on the Zoom, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you because I think you have really good insight in gymnastics from that journalist perspective, also from your experience as a coach, co-owner of the academy. But I first want to let you to introduce yourself and tell about how do you explain your job to people? Like, what do you do when they ask you what do you do?
Wow. Okay. So I have a real job. So I'm a software engineer, account manager. So I'm also the co-owner of Twistars Gymnastics Academy here in Kapalaba, Queensland, which is just outside of Brisbane. I also am a certified freelance journalist. So I've not been widely published. I do a great deal on Facebook, as you might know. So I have my own personal site as well as I co-admin two other gymnastics-related sites with between the two roughly around 30,000 subscribers. So I first got in, as I was telling you a few moments ago, I first got accredited in journalism because I wanted to have the really good seats at sporting events. And it's really opened up a lot of doors for me to be able to communicate that to the community. With what I've done on social media, hit me really hard at one point. Because I had a couple of, and I'm not going to mention any names, I had a couple of athletes tell me several years ago that because of the videos and this content that I put on social media, they got sponsorships. Mm-hmm. So raising that awareness for the athletes. And these are athletes from countries that are not necessarily associated with gymnastics. So at that point, I realized that of course I do it for fun too, because I love the sport. But I love to help out the people who need or want that recognition, and to help the sport along. Especially in the United States, where I'm originally from, especially men's gymnastics was a dying sport. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to help raise that awareness that it's a legitimate sport. It's a lot of fun. So you have your American football and we have our Australia rugby. So gymnastics is not a huge hitter, but helping to raise that awareness, and the number of people that we have subscribed to our websites or our Facebook groups now is growing daily. So it's good to help contribute to that awareness.
Yeah, that definitely. It's a honorable thing to do because for me, honestly, this podcast is one thing I'm trying to do to promote sport, to promote gymnastics, and yeah. It's really awesome to see that you do that as well, because I saw and heard about so many gymnasts when you posted about them, and it helps really a lot, especially for those young rising stars in the sport. Yeah. So
it's a lot of fun too, because when I go to the World Championships, I go to World Championships every year. When you sit through the qualifications, you're sitting there in an arena for 13 hours. And there might be one gymnast from one country that maybe one person claps for. So I usually try to go find them and say, can I get a photo with you? So that at least they get that recognition that they're, somebody's out there watching.
Yeah, to give them that boost that they are doing something valuable. Exactly. Yeah. So we'll get to that about World Championships. Now I want to hear from you. How did you get into journalism in general, and then why did you choose to start being like a gymnastics journalist, and how did you get into that? How did that became a thing?
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed writing. So I used to write short stories. I used to write short stories for Star Wars fan fiction. But I've always enjoyed writing and using that creative process. And like I said, I originally got the accreditation to get good seats. But then I got accredited with FIG as well as a journalist. And I'm not well known outside of social media, so I don't necessarily write for magazines, although I send ideas to magazines and newspapers and other media. But the social media, especially Facebook and Instagram, is where it's really taken off. I just like that communication process and being able to again try to raise awareness and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, because from my perspective, I don't see many people, actually not only journalists, care that much about gymnastics. Of course, you have your background in gymnastics. If you can tell a bit more about that. You practiced gymnastics when you were younger.
Yeah, I practiced gymnastics when I was younger. I don't remember exactly what set it off. I remember in school going to a class, learning how to do somersaults and cartwheels and that sort of thing. I was like, this is pretty neat. And then I went on to study gymnastics and be coached and compete. It was with Gym Elite in Norcross, Georgia, which is closed since then. But then I started to grow, and I got tall, and now at 6'2". So as I was saying before, once you get back then, there might have been other options provided where the coaches could have said, you can become a coach, you can become a judge, you can do whatever. But back then, in those early years when I was much younger, they just said, get out. Which I carried a great deal of resentment for many years. And it wasn't until I'd say around 2005-ish that I got my love of the sport back again. And it was because seeing some gymnasts online on YouTube, Facebook, I don't think was Facebook even around in 2005. I don't know.
I think it was in beginning of Facebook.
But on social media, and it was very, and I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. And what got me was, so I made comments. So I'd say, oh, that's a really good job. You did really well. And they started replying. And I was like, wow. And that's when I sort of got more interested into it. And so then been following along, excuse me. And of course, I've always watched the Olympics and that sort of thing, but that's when the passion really hit me again. And that's what I really enjoy trying to help out. So when I became the co-owner with my other owner is Emma, is a good friend of mine. That's when I because of what Queensland requires is you have to have a coaching accreditation, and you also have to, you have to be accredited to work with children. And so that learning process of learning to be a coach, and I'm just an intermediate coach, so I can do kids and recreational, and working with children, but the learning process, and I'm now working on the judging accreditation as well, just for my own benefit. But it's the learning process is being involved with that. And when you go to these courses, you're going to other gyms, meeting other gymnasts, other coaches, and groups of people who have a like-minded interest. It's really become amazing.
Yeah, I believe, because I'm on that journey as well myself, and especially when you get to connect with people from the sport, you see their perspective, and you see that you're kind of not alone in that thing.
Yeah.
And but now, as we transition, as you said, you've been following the sport for a very long time. I'm now curious, how did you see, from your perspective, the sport changed? How much did gymnastics change over the years? Because as we know, it's changing every 4 years with the code of points.
Yeah.
But from your personal perspective.
I have sort of an issue with the code of points because I think I say this very delicately. I think it promotes the desire of people to go above their realistic capabilities in order to get scores. And I think that introduces a measure of not quite being safe. Obviously, if you have a good coach, you have a good athlete, they're going to do what they need to do to keep things safe and to be able to compete properly. But if you're strictly after points, it can be a bit daunting the way it's presented. I would say it changes over the years. If you look back at, say, and I have a good friend who was a previous Soviet gymnast. He's one of the people that I co-admin. So if you look back at the Soviet era with, Artemov and all of them, there's almost no comparison. If you're going through from and they were astounding, and I'm not saying anything negative about gymnasts today, but back then there was a slightly more, I don't know how to say it, there was more structured, I think. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm probably saying that wrong. It's nothing against gymnasts today. It was just when you look at the classical Soviet gymnasts, they were pretty amazing. And I'm not saying anything good about the Soviets at all. The Soviet group itself. It's just the gymnastics back then was a bit more. Anyway, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because go on.
No, I'm just, it might be just looking in hindsight. You see what's happened in the past. We have some amazing gymnasts worldwide now, and it's some of the skills that they do now are just, I'll just say terrifying. But it's, if you see, someone from Armenia on the vault,
you can believe that, yeah.
My hands start sweating. So, so it's, but maybe from a historical perspective, looking at the classics, that was really interesting. I think, like I said, we have gone through a hiccup, especially for MAG. I don't follow women's gymnastics that much. I do have some people that I do follow, but I do follow mostly men's gymnastics. Like I was saying, there has been a hiccup where I think the popularity is lost. We don't have, not like, the major sports in the US or in Europe and that sort of thing, but I think there's a slight uptick lately, which people are becoming more excited about the sport.
Yeah, definitely, because I believe that's happening because thanks to social media and all the people from the sport that are putting in the work, just like you and all the other gymnasts that are putting themselves on the social media, they're recording themselves, and young people see that, and I believe it's more important than ever to have that encouragement for young people, because as the time goes on, I believe there's less and less children in the sport, and so I believe that additional promotion is really, really important.
Yeah, it really is. And maybe 10 years ago, we have the Turkish men's team. We have Croatia. Nobody's heard of them before. And then to about 7 to 8 years ago, they started to creep in. And then 5 years ago, they're taking off. Croatia, Turkey, Netherlands. That's
Italy as well.
Italy as well, yes, definitely. Yeah. In Spain, and that's just without social media, I don't think that would have been possible. Because people will, if you're using your old standard television set, the ones where you have to stand up to go change the channel, back then people just wouldn't bother unless it's the Olympics. People would watch the Olympics, but not these. What did we just have? We just had Cottbus, and we've just had
Cairo.
Nobody would have heard of those before. So
exactly.
I think social media and internet have made a huge impact on the sport.
Yeah, definitely, and that's awesome thing because when we speak about like all the negative sides of the social media, but there's a huge positive side, and everything can be used in the negative and positive way. But I think it's really benefiting the sport.
Yes.
Yeah, to
Agreed.
conclude.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now I'm curious about your experiences on the World Championships, because as you said, you've been there every year since 2017. And how does that look like when you get into those great spots in the arena, and to look from the closest way possible, closest position?
I'll be honest. I prefer World Championships over the Olympics, to be honest. Because you're actually, when you're in that arena and you can go walking around, you're going to run into athletes in the food court. They're going to be sitting there having a drink, grabbing something to eat. I've made some very good friends among the athletes and the coaches. You get to shake their hands, say hello, get your photos taken. It's crazy. Like I said, especially for like I was saying with qualifications, you're sitting there for 13 hours. You don't have to, but I do, just because me. But you're and it's, and athletes will go up, because in qualifications you can sit anywhere. You've got your ticket and that sort of thing, when you have your assigned seat. But athletes are, the gymnasts are looking for a place to sit where they can see properly, and they'll just come up and sit next to you, start the conversation. And to me, that is amazing. If you went to a football game, and one of the players came up and sat next to you, that just wouldn't happen. It's not going to happen. So, and then getting to go to the different cities. I do travel with the international gymnast team, or not team, crowd, the people who work for International Gymnastics Magazine. So our organizers, so it's a tour group. So we go to all the competitions. We get to go on tours of the cities, and we go on day tours. And so that's all organized for us as well. So it's just a huge impact. It's going to the different countries, experiencing different cultures. Stuttgart World Championships, the Porsche Arena was being held during Oktoberfest. And we're on the bus going to the arena, and it's Oktoberfest, and there's a whole line, all the way down the street, the highway that we're traveling on, are a bunch of trees with men in lederhosen peeing on the trees, because they've been drinking beer all day. And that, to me, that was just like, that's just cool. It's just to experience strange things, I guess.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Liverpool was cold and rainy, but I got to meet so many of the athletes and have photos taken with them. It's just, you walk up to someone, Sofa's from Norway. I say, Sofa's going to take a photo? He's like, yep, sure. Here we go. I've never had a negative experience with an athlete at any of, and I do a lot of events here in Australia as well, especially Queensland. I've never had a negative experience with a gymnast where they say, no, I'm too good for you. I'm not gonna sign your photograph. I'm not gonna take a photograph with you, and that sort of thing. They've all been super pleasant. Obviously, if they've had a bad day, you don't bug them. And I make it a rule to never bug them with, if I see them in a restaurant, I'm not gonna bug somebody when they're having a meal. So if they've had a bad day, if they're eating, or if they're with family, I don't really necessarily just barge in and say, hey, let's take a photo. But, at the events, it's really wholesome to just have, and I've had them approach me, say, hey, I recognize you. I don't know if you've seen the photo that I put up every year before I go to Worlds with the jumper that I wear.
Yeah,
so it's got the flag on the front. People stop me. It's not even just gymnasts, it's just general people are like, hey, I know who you are. And it's really, it's just really heartwarming. It's almost like a family atmosphere with 20,000 of your best friends.
Yeah, and all of them like the sport, like they're like-minded, same interest, and there's like heaven. It feels like heaven, most honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and now, because I want to go a little bit deeper into that experience with gymnasts. As you said, you had never had a negative experience, and I believe that's because it says something about those people. Because we here in my area, we talk a lot about athletes and how athletes are actually people through sport are growing into great humans later. And
Yes.
the sport builds you to have compassion, to be humble, to have empathy, and to just want to be a good human.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally agree. And especially with gymnastics, very few people will argue that it's probably one of the most difficult sports there is. Yeah, so it's just, and I think there is that empathy because, you know, people get injured all the time. And gymnastics is a very fickle mistress. She'll kill you if you're not careful. So I think it's part of that watching out for one another, the camaraderie, you know, and especially when, I guess, when you're training together for X number of hours a day, you get that sort of family-like feeling. So I got very, very sick years ago, and I had to relearn how to walk again. And so I spent a lot of time specifically with watching videos from Bram Verhofstadt in Netherlands. And
I love him.
Sam Altman from England. And they were replying to me on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, you're really helping," because I was in hospital for about 6 months. And I guess to take it back a step, when I was learning how to re-walk again, I was having to go through physical therapy. I could hear their voices in my head telling me to get up and do it. So they have a really good emotional impact, especially when, you know, when I'm nobody and they're replying back to me on their YouTube channel and saying, "You can do this."
That's powerful. That's really powerful. Yeah, because as you said, that because as a gymnast you go through all the pain, all the injuries, all the training, and it just makes you remember that if you could survive that hard, you can encourage someone else to go through that himself.
Yeah, exactly, and especially with gymnasts, like I said, it's a very difficult sport. You get lots of injuries, and you don't get paid much. You're not in football, you're not in soccer, tennis, and that sort of thing. So most gymnasts that I know, they're not necessarily struggling, but it's you're not getting millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. So I think a lot of it is that you're putting your heart and soul into the love of the sport, and I think that's a big part of it. Not really into it for the paycheck.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk a bit more about prize money and money in the gymnastics, but because as you said, I also believe it's really low, because I just recently, a few days ago, I was checking prize money on the World Cups and the World Championships. It's I think 1,400 Swiss francs for a gold medal in the apparatus final. It's ridiculous. In my opinion. I don't know what do you think about that. But if you look at what if you compare, I don't know, any other sport. Of course, every sport is difficult in their own way, but I think it's important to get any sport to a level where each athlete can live off of that sport alone.
Yeah. Don't quote me on this. So this is a very loose number, and it may have changed over the years. But I do know athletes that are on a stipend from their local or their country's gymnastics federation. Yeah. And I think so. One number that I've heard, and I won't name names, but with Team GB, I think it was £10,000 a year, which that's not sustainable. Yeah. I mean, granted, playing devil's advocate, in most federations you have access to worldwide renowned medical attention. You know, if you're injured, they're going to, you know, hopefully do the best they can for you. I know US and GB and Netherlands and a lot of other countries, you have, it's incredible. I think Japan and China as well. You have incredible access to medical facilities and training facilities. So that sort of offsets it a bit. But if you get, end of the day, if you get home and you can't afford to buy dinner, you know, I guess there's, I think that individual countries should give more financial support for outside for living expenses. We'll just put it simply as that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree definitely on that. And it's a subject that, of course, needs a lot of work, but I just can say that I hope it will get better. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at Delaloyan, when he tore his Achilles, I don't know what Russia did. I'm not a fan of Russia at the moment. But what they did for Delaloyan was he tore his Achilles and he was back in 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah, and he was ready. He was competing. Insane. Yeah.
Because it used to be you tear your Achilles, it's going to be a year, at least. But he was back and he was in action and performed very well. So having that sort of medical care, I get it. Medical care and training, that sort of thing. So I guess there is sort of an offset, but you also have the. I know someone else. They were injured, did not have health insurance. They were not high in the ranking of their particular federation, and had to do a GoFundMe just to get an ACL taken care of. So I'm probably going nowhere with this, but it seems like there's a bit of a dichotomy there where there are positives or negatives, but it's not spread across the board in a more equal manner. You know, if you're going to go out there for your country needs to pay for your bills. Yeah,
simply
compete for your country. I didn't mean to use the word fight. Compete for your country. Your country needs to pay for your bills.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's equal exchange in that case. Now I want to talk about.
I got a bit dark. Sorry.
It's fine. I think it's fine. I want to talk about your gymnastics academy. You're co-owner of Twist Arts Gymnastics Academy. Can you tell a story about how did you start with that? How the idea came and all that process?
The idea. That's a long story that I can't go into at the moment. So, but it's Twist Arts Gymnastics Academy. We are in Kapalaba, which is a suburb of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. So it was a bit of a struggle at the start. I remember at one point we had maybe 10 members. We're now up to over 500, I believe. So we do offer kindy gym for kindergarten young children, recreational for boys and girls. We have women's WAG, a competitive team. We offer the aero gymnastics, which is like the silks, where you hang from the ceiling and do that artwork, as well as hoops. We are eventually going to be opening up to men's competitive. That's going to be down the road a little bit. So we have myself and Emma, the co-owner. Emma puts in the lion's share. She does the most of the work as far as administration and running the place, because I have my day job and I work ridiculous hours as well for the software company that I work for. We have incredible coaches, and yeah, so it's still a work in progress. We've only been open we're going on 2 years now. But we've had incredible growth, incredible support from the community. There are no other gymnastics academies, say within 30 minutes drive of where we're located. So it's a very localized, we'll say family type business. So it's been a journey. There's been difficulties, but I think it's going to turn out to be a very positive and a very big success going forward. So it's been scary at times. I have high hopes that it's going to be a big hit. So if you're ever in the area, come on by. You're more than welcome to come visit. Yeah, for sure. I would love to. I hope I'll have a chance to visit one day. And this is a call for everyone, invite for everyone. I believe that's watching this. For you and anyone else, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be glad, and because as you said, the academy is only 2 years old, roughly, and already at 500 members. It's quite, from my perspective, it's quite a big growth, and it's been a good work.
And something that's really exciting too is we started an adults gymnastics classes in the evenings. It was one night a week. The adult group, which is to any age, we're now up to 3 nights a week. It became so popular, and I don't know of any other clubs in the area that offer the adults. So we've actually had, I'd say, 5 of our adults compete in the most recent Masters competition, and did very well. Everyone medaled. So it's really exciting. We're having a get together tomorrow evening at my place just to have a few drinks and some nibbles and just catch up and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
So it's a very close family group, I think. Like I said, Emma runs mostly everything. I pop in when I can, but I feel good about it. I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, awesome. Congratulations from my side to the team.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, and but as you said, when you mentioned now this part, you're having a drink together. Because I think that's one really important thing in general, especially in gymnastics, to build that community, build that family atmosphere in the club. Because for me, from my perspective, my personal experience, when I was growing up in gymnastics, one of the things that drew me the most to go to the gym were my friends. I wasn't in the beginning. I wasn't going there to, learn the triple back, or I don't know. I was going there to have fun with my friends, and that's what keeps people going, because we're social. We need social interactions, and that's really, really important thing to build that culture.
Yeah, totally agree. If you walk in the door and nobody says hello, to me that's an automatic something's not right here. So everyone's going to have a bad day. I get it, but at least be courteous and say, hey, it's good to see you, and that makes a lot of difference. Yeah,
definitely, especially because you want to feel like someone saw you, someone is like, even if you or someone else is having a bad day, just to have a word, it makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now let's talk about gymnastics. Let's talk about men's gymnastics as a sport in general, because I have one question that's I'll tell you my perspective, but I want to hear your perspective. So in the later years, let's begin like that. Lately, we've seen in like maybe past 10-15 years, we've seen a lot of apparatus specialists arise in the gymnastics world. So before, like 20-30 years ago, there was only all around and team, of course. So what's your opinion? Do you support that apparatus specialists, or you believe that all around is real gymnastics?
That's a difficult one. There's also the limitation on the number of people on a team, which there has to be a limitation. But when they say there's only like four team members, I think that should go back to, it should be a higher number. We'll say 5 team members. But when you have 4 team members and they're all specialists, or it's maybe one all-arounder and the rest are specialists, it gets weird. I mean, I get it. I'm a huge fan of Reese McClanahan. I love Courtney Tulloch. There's a lot of specialists that are extremely talented, extremely strong, and they make a very big contribution to the sport. Some of the feedback that I get, so I'll tell you what I've been told before I go into what I think. What I've been told is, some people are like, this apparatus is boring. So if I see one person that does nothing but rings, somebody says, that's just boring, I'm not gonna watch. So I think that's taking away from the sport. Specialists, I get, and they're incredible. Maybe not specialize in one, maybe specialize in 2 would be my opinion. It's just, and I'm going to say his name wrong, but Petronius from Greece is magnificent on rings.
Yeah,
it would be fun to see him on maybe P-bars or do something else. They have incredible, especially him, incredible upper body strength. So while not, and I get that that's their favorite apparatus and they love it the most. And it's probably they're obviously what they're best at. But I think for the interest of the sport and to grow the sport and to grow interest in the sport, maybe diversify a little bit, just to give a little bit of extra, I hate to say entertainment, but a little bit more activity for the crowd to be able to, because people are intimidated by gymnastics. The scoring system is like astrophysics,
Exactly.
and people don't understand it. So to get people in seats, they have to enjoy what they're seeing. Don't take away that intimidation. And why am I watching this guy on rings? It doesn't give me anything else. And I get it. I understand why the athletes want to do that, but it's also about growing the sport and growing people's interest in the sport. And hopefully get that funding someday.
Yeah, that's right. But
yeah, that was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, but I think it's now like a battle of interests, because on one hand, gymnasts want to have the best opportunity for themselves to win medals, to win more prize money, of course. But on the other hand, there's crowd who's looking for awesome gymnastics, great entertainment, as you said. And it's, of course, now it has to be in balance. But I believe that for the popularity of sport all around, not necessarily all around, but more apparatus the one gymnast does, it's better. But of course, for me, I really enjoy watching all around, especially in the World Championships. That's the best all around we have, and those finals are my favorite. But when we get deeper into that question, why gymnasts choose to do one or two apparatus, is because of their situation or their circumstances, that's the most profitable for them in according with their time and effort.
It's up to the federation as well. So I know some federations, they will say, we want to go for a team medal, and some federations say, we want to go for individual medals. So I guess it's how they're instructed as well. So and when I was doing gymnastics, I asked repeatedly if I could take the pommel horse to the parking lot and light it on fire, because I hated training pommel horse. My coaches never do that. So I get it. I get what you have your own favorite apparatus that you want to compete on. So I get that. So I think it's a combination of the two. What athletes want to accomplish and what the federation wants to accomplish. It's a matter of internal communication. Yeah,
that's definitely one. I mean, it's discussion that can go on and on and on, but as you said, I think it comes down to the politics of each federation and what are their goals, what they choose. Yeah. Now I want to have a chat about judging and perspective of a judge, because as you said, you're now getting certified as a judge, and but I think you have enough of the perspective for that. So I'm also a judge myself for now 2 years here in Croatia, and for me, I'll tell you my experience perspective, because when I became a judge, I started to look at gymnastics in such a different way, because I was up until that point I was just a gymnast, and I was raising my hand, doing my routine, and that's all the gymnastics I saw. But now when I sat on the other side of the apparatus, when I became a judge, I started to have a different perspective on gymnastics as a sport. So how do you see gymnastics from that perspective, as well as compared from the journalist's perspective?
So it's been it's a big learning process. I get it. So I guess I'll take a step back. So when I left gymnastics during what I'll call the dark times, I went into dance. So I am a huge, if I don't see a toe point and I don't see extension, that's a hot button. So that's going to get me. So from a judging standpoint, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about technique. I've learned a lot about what to look for. Obviously, and that's helping with as far as writing and doing the journalism side of things, that sort of thing as well. But and I'm not certified as a judge yet. I'm still going through the process. So the thing that this is going to sound weird, the thing that has sort of in the back of my mind is, if I'm at a competition judging, that means that I lose that relationship with the athletes that I know.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a judge, I can't run up and say, "Hey, great job," and shake somebody's hand, because that's showing favoritism. So
Yeah.
to me, while learning the judging process and that sort of thing is extremely interesting, and I'm learning a lot from it, I don't know that I want to lose that interactivity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting perspective, because it's, for me, also was one of the most difficult things to become objective when watching gymnastics and judging competition, because you can't support any gymnast. You have to be objective and just look what they do, look at their routine.
Exactly. I mean, you know, if I was to go, say for Queensland, Australia, if I was to go to judge a competition next week, I've got about 10 of those athletes on my friends list. I can't do that. So I don't, you know, you put yourself in that gray area of, can I be objective or can I not? Or do I know somebody who's having a bad day or going through a rough patch? I don't. It's a very slippery slope, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's, I mean, of course, you have to, as a judge, you have to make that like a decision, or just step into the role. Okay, now judging is competition, and then after you'll again friends with them, and that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do, because I'm also judging with my ex friends, colleagues, but after that we're again colleagues in gymnastics.
And that makes sense, and I can certainly, I've done that with you know, with work and that sort of thing, is step out of that role and do something strictly professional. But then, what if somebody else in the crowd thinks differently? They're going to say, "Clay, what have you done? Is this real?" Or so I don't. So I think there's a sort of a shadow of doubt that the perception of others might be involved, if that makes sense. I'm certainly going to do it. I'm going to do the judging, and I'll make it very clear to everyone involved, or everyone on my friends list, you know, I'm going to treat you just as anyone else. It's just, if you have somebody else's mom or dad in the crowd that might think differently, and they know that I know someone, it's not something we can answer today, but it's an interesting, something to consider. Yeah,
that's for sure. But it's again, that conversation can go on and on. But it's I think it's really interesting perspective in general, and also from a like as well coach perspective. When you become a judge, I believe you get another perspective. What should you tell to your gymnasts? Take a little bit more care about this.
Yes.
Make sure to don't make a mistake here, because judge has that other lens on them.
Exactly. So you like exactly what you said. The judges have that lens, and if you can pass that on to your students, then that's going to make them a better athlete, and at least better in competition. So they know what's expected of them, what's going to happen. So yeah, that's another aspect of it as well. So yeah. So
okay, let's now transition into a bit more about your work on social media as a journalist, as a gymnast journalist, because I wanna see if you have any like if you in your radar if you have any rising stars in gymnastics, or some gymnasts that you believe are gonna be like make a good thing that you saw already, or you are actually like having an eye on.
Yes. So for instance, I'll give you one. I'll just name drop once. So James Hardy from Australia. I've been following him since he's 14. He's 21 now. So that's something I enjoy watching, is these athletes that, you know, seeing what they're capable of and seeing them start to succeed. You know Tio Portelek?
Yeah. He's my great mate. Yeah.
He's big on my list. So I think he's. I know Mateo as well. So they're both doing extremely well. I don't want to name drop too many people, but it's exciting. It's exciting for me to see someone who's in the juniors. Gage Kyle is one. Gage Kyle is in the U.S. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see people who are in the juniors and you immediately know something's happening there. And then once they get to seniors, you see them just take off. So that's a really exciting process for me, and just follow their journey, getting to know them, and seeing how they progress, and it's just fascinating. So it's being able to, and I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm just saying that I do have people that they catch your eye, and you know that they're going to be great someday. So
that's right, because
really excellent journey.
Yeah, I believe also, especially in the last maybe few years, we saw a lot of young gymnasts race to the seniors. In the last World Championships 2023, I think from US, it was a gymnast Koi named young Koi, if I'm right. US gymnast that won all around, I think bronze medal.
Oh yes.
I don't think he's older than 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to see, because we know how difficult is that transition to seniors. But when you see someone so good in juniors and they do great job already at the beginning, just like Ilya Kovtun of Ukraine. I'm now practicing with him in Osijek. He's now living in Osijek, and when you see him in training, you don't think he's like 20 years old. He's 21. He's such a monster.
There's Jermaine Grunberg from Netherlands.
Yeah, as well.
I remember when he was so skinny, you couldn't see him if he turned sideways. He could hide behind a tree. And now he's a beast. Him and Kerem Center from, I'm saying his name wrong, from Turkey, as well. So I'm just watching, it's just a huge transformation. It just, I guess, it's seeing them progress, but they've got something. I don't know what to call it. I'll say fire. When they're going to take off.
And it's from my perspective, it's awesome to follow that journey of someone growing up, especially like as you said, from 14, 15 years old, and you see how they're evolving. It's just you're happy for them to see that they're doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have one question. It's a bit like. It's about this year. So are you planning on being in Paris Olympics this year?
No, I would love to, but I don't make that kind of money to afford a ticket. I was saying before too that I much prefer World Championships to the Olympics. So I will be going to the next Olympics if they ever decide where they're going to hold 2025. If somebody will make a decision, that would be great. I won't be in Paris. I would love to. If someone wants to pay for tickets for me, that'd be great. And it's a really confusing thing too, because you can buy your ticket to put your name in a lottery for a ticket, but you don't know what ticket you're going to get. So I can put in money and say I like a ticket to whatever, and they're going to say you're going to have a ticket to rowing, and I'm like, well. And not to say anything bad about rowing, I have no interest in it. So it's a very strange, and I get it. It's because it's such a popular event, and only happens every 4 years. But anyway, so that's I'm just, to be honest, I'm not really interested in going to Paris. I mean, to Paris, yes, but not to the Olympics. But
I just wanted to ask because it's now like it's happening right now this year. So. But I agree with you that World Championships are much more interesting and actually more difficult competition. More exciting than Olympic Games, because we have much more gymnasts, and it's just higher quality of gymnastics.
Yeah, agreed.
So what? Now let's go on with that. What do you think about that qualification process for Olympics and also for the World Championships? Is it too complicated, or there have been a little changes?
Olympic qualifications are, and again, I understand the reason behind it, because you have to limit the number of teams and athletes, because again, gymnastics is not a huge, gigantic sport worldwide. They're going to go with the more popular types of things. So I get it. I do think it's overly complicated. I don't have an answer how to change it. So, that's one of my things is if you're going to complain about something, at least offer a solution so you don't seem like you're whining and whinging about it. I don't have a solution to that. So I do think it's overly complicated, and it's, again, like the scoring system, it's confusing to people who want to understand what the process is. World Championships, like I said, you sit in the arena for 13 hours watching qualifications. Mm-hmm. I could go longer. It's just, I love it. So,
me too, yeah.
I can't really complain about that. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people that I know are just like, they'll say, I'm done, I'm walking out, but I'm sort of a glutton for punishment, I guess you could say. So I'm going to sit there the whole time to watch what's going on. So it's to each their own. I enjoy it, others don't. I think they are cutting down on the number of nominative registrants in the next Worlds, the people who can register to compete. I think, don't quote me on that. And also, in Antwerp, they moved, at least men's qualifications was 2 days instead of the one, which that was okay. So, but that was a really nice arena too, gotta say. But I don't have a problem with World's qualifications. Well, I know people that do. So I'll just say that I'll stay on my side of the fence for that one.
yeah, that's totally legit. Now, as we're moving forward, I wanna ask you, from your, based on all your experience and perspective in gymnastics, why do you think gymnastics is a good sport for anyone to practice?
So I'm also on the advisory council for, it's called Gymnastics for All, for the Queensland GFA group. So I'm on the advisory group, and I'm in charge of the over 50s. Or not in charge of, but that's what I go more. The thing is, like I mentioned before, I had to learn how to walk again. This is many years ago. So the thing with gymnastics is it promotes, I believe, obviously physical health. It helps with mental health as long as you're in a healthy environment and you don't have an abusive coach, you don't have, physically or mentally abusive coaches or people around you. It creates, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to fail. You're going to fall off that beam. You're going to fall off your pommel horse. But it gives you that resilience in your mind that carries over into, we'll say, quote unquote, real life experiences. So, if for some reason you lose your job, you can look back and your brain says, I've failed before. So there is a way to recover. Whereas I think a lot of times people don't have that mindset because they've not experienced that in the past. So I think it gives them, and there's also the successes. You look at gymnasts, even yourself, gymnasts do things that maybe 90% of the planet cannot. So it's I think I see both sides of that. I think it's definitely a character builder, definitely good for health, definitely good for mental health in the right circumstances, and gives you that outlook on life that, I've done this, I'm here we go, bring it on. So I think I don't see any real negatives to the sport other than the injury side of things. So which can be tragic at times. But that being said, I could get in a car accident tomorrow. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, that's as you said, it's gymnastics has a lot of those benefits, and it just puts you on a track. If I've gone through all these difficulties, injuries of training, there's nothing, there's not so much things that are as difficult as this. Yeah. But on the other hand, when you said the injury part, I think it's a good thing about gymnastics is that you're in control of what happens to you. Of course, not all the time, 100%, but you're more in the control than in some team sports when someone else can hit you or hurt you. It's much more pleasant in gymnastics.
Yeah, good point.
Is there anything you wanna add that you wanted to say throughout the whole conversation that you forgot or you didn't have a chance?
No, I think I really appreciate you having me on. I hope that what I've said makes some sort of sense and is what what you were looking for. No, but I really appreciate your time. That's everything that I really had. So
yeah, awesome.
please wish the Croatian team my best, and Emil, the coach Emil.
The coach of Mateo, and yeah.
So say hello to everyone for me. I really appreciate it. So.
Sure. Now, just to finish off, I want to ask you for some advice for all the young aspiring people, not just athletes, but in general.
Yeah. Don't give up. You're going to have a bad, excuse me. You're going to have bad days. You're not going to want to go to the gym. But chances are the day after you're going to regret not going to the gym the day before. So do what you're doing. Keep up the perseverance. If you feel your coach is asking you for things that are unrealistic, speak up. Tell somebody. But have fun with it. That's the best I can say. Enjoy it. You're not going to the Olympics most likely, but you can get all the health benefits from it. You make some great friends, great health, and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and that's the biggest prize that you can get from the sport. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Clay, I'm really happy, and I'm so pleased that I had a chance to have this conversation with you. Thank you for your time and for this conversation, for sharing your experiences.
Oh, thank you very much. I really had a good time. I appreciate it.
And me too. Sorry.
Hopefully I get to meet you sometime soon.
I hope it will be the case. Maybe at some World Championships. I hope we'll get the chance.
I will be
awesome. I'm really thankful for this conversation, and thank you for coming on. And I hope we'll have a chance to meet up soon.
Okay, excellent. All right, take care.
You too. Now I'm gonna switch to Croatian. Dakle, evo, za kraj epizode, ja se nadam da ste stvarno uživali i stvarno upili svo ovo iskustvo. I ja sam stvarno uživao u ovom razgovoru, nadam se da ste vi barem upali koliko i ja. I hvala na slušanju i gledanju, vidimo se opet u idućoj epizodi. Pozdrav!